Hiya, hiya, hiya. So it's me again, and today we are back with another episode of the Champion Legion progression. This marks episode 29, and this also marks the final episode before the actual system is released, which I actually think is quite poetic because starting from episode 30, we will finally have the Champion Legion system. So starting next week, I think it is the Wednesday that comes up. So August 27th is when the patch actually drops. And that is when we are going to be getting the UI changes, the 2-minute class balancing changes, and of course the Champion Legion system itself. Now, for any thoughts that I have when those come around, I will give. But for now, I want to focus on what's going on this week. For this week, I just quickly want to go over all of my characters, what they have and what they are going to have going into this patch, and what I've done with all of my event resources through the Morning Star Banquet, because I actually do think that it's quite important. Speaking of events, we actually also got horribly shafted, because after spending pretty much all of my money on 5, 10, 15, which accounts for 150 bill, which is a lot of money. Nexon decided that they wanted to announce the Sunny Sundays for next patch, and actually show that they were going to run another Shining Star Force earlier than expected. So I'm feeling a little hurt, but we will still, as much as I want a cube, we're probably going to spend on Star Forcing again, because missing a Shining Star Force is not something you want to do, and I'll still have a decent amount of money going into it. So yeah, hopefully you guys enjoy. Remember to like, comment, and sub, or I will literally eat your mesos faster than Star Forcing does. So let's start with what is going to be the future main. The Khali has been the class that I have been enjoying the most by far, and it's not even close. Funnily enough, the Khali has boomed another eye patch on the 5.10.15 that just passed, which is a little sad. Now granted, we do still have some pitched in our inventory, and we have 2 other pieces, which are not boomable, which is very nice. Now, granted though, even though my Khali is 0 for 2 on pitch, the Khali overall has been insanely lucky in terms of getting rare items. The Khali has every single level 4 ring in the game. Well, the useful level 4 rings. We had a chance at a level 5 ring, but it didn't turn out. We have an unholy amount of KT spares. I feel like at this point in time, I'm kind of just hoarding things for the sake of hoarding them. For the 30-star patch when that comes around, if I ever do end up pushing anything over here like Superior Gollux rings, or hell, I might even just take KTs beyond 22, because that's actually going to be very much worth my time. Now, of course, I would finish my arcanes first before I actually do tackle something like that, so we might be hitting a point where my inventory bottlenecks me again, but hopefully it doesn't get to that point, and it doesn't get that bad. But the Khali is looking at a pretty healthy amount of spares. The only thing I'm necessarily concerned about on this character, like that I want to see more drop, is the arcanes. We do have these 3 of each, so we have decent odds for 22 considering where I'm actually at. The shoulder, I haven't been picking up spares, and the reason for that is because I think for most of my characters, I'm just going to end up coining all of the shoulders. Because usually you want to coin the will pieces, but assuming that I get lucky on the lucids and then I kind of run out on the will pieces, we'll maybe end up boxing a few shoulders if I have to. But yeah, in terms of the damage preset, I'll quickly just hover everything, pause in case if you want to see what my equips actually look like on this character. Alright, there we go. And our combat power, when we put everything on, goes all the way to almost 180 mil. So this is with FAMs and everything included. I will show the FAMs as well. So we have 40% IED, 20% boss, and 5% attack. In terms of Legion, we are at 9.2k. Granted, this number will increase very shortly, as I have a Hyper Burn and I have not transferred my Moshuan from Challenger World yet. So I wouldn't be surprised if in the near future this would be pushing 93 or even getting closer to even 9500 Legion. I have 3 presets for Legion. One is for my characters that aren't archers, where I just go for boss damage, IED, crit damage, buff duration. I have it set to attack and strength for now. Now granted, of course, if I really want to min-max the stat on a character, I could always swap this out. I should also be swapping these for stats that I actually do use, like Dex and Luck. And then put this to MP and Int. There you go. Free damage. Awesome. Okay, cool. I have a farming preset where, of course, I just go for normal damage, crit damage, attack, and EXP obtained. Now, I did put a little bit into crit rate. Granted, though, I don't really need the crit rate anymore, hence why my crit rate is completely empty. And in terms of the third preset, I have a preset where instead of going boss damage, crit damage, IED, I go boss damage, crit damage, and crit rate for the archers. Because I do have a Bowmaster and a Marksman that scale off of crit rate, of course. In terms of Legion Artifact, we are starting to push for 50. First one's got damage, boss damage, crit damage. Second one's got all stats, attack, IED. The third set is crit rate, meso, and item drop. And then for my fourth set, I'm going to be pushing XP, skill cooldown bypass chance, and buff duration. So once we get another set of this, that should benefit both my dual blade and my Khali a lot. I'm not too sure what I'm going to end up doing for the last one though, but that's far in the future. I don't ever see myself hitting Artifact 60 anytime soon. In terms of fifth job, I actually recently dumped a lot of experience nodestones on the Khali, so there's only a few skills here and there that might be missing, like a handful of levels, like the bind, which isn't the most useful because Khali bursts every 180 seconds anyways, but I should be leveling this up soon actually, because when the 2-minute changes come through, I won't have a bind for every single burst, so yeah, that's a little concerning. I am also missing a few levels on Solar Crest. Besides that, my descents aren't fully leveled yet, so slowly but surely when we get nodestones through events, we'll be putting it towards this character and then starting to trickle down, because all the characters now have their 5th jobs maxed, their boost maxed, and like important 5th jobs maxed that give them a lot of damage. In terms of 6th job, so because I'm planning for this character to be my main, I'm actually going to be pushing Janus 10, X Sandstorm at level 6, all the other masteries at level 1, all the enhancements at level 4, and Rush, Blitz, and Split to level 29 because of how the scaling works on this class. I only have Hexastat 1 unlocked, and it hits 6, 10, and 4, so where I hit the 10, I just put the attack, and then luck since it's the second best, and then crit damage on the 4. So yeah, that'll pretty much be it for the Khali. In terms of what has changed, nothing at all has changed, and we got no drops this week. Drops have been really bad once again. Last week was actually pretty decent, but we're back to pretty much getting zip and zilch. So let's shuffle on over to the Cannoneer. The only pirate of my champion is definitely the Master of Booty, because this character has actually been the luckiest by far, and it's not even close. Now, this character is missing a weapon jump 4. We have opened up very many boxes, and to no avail. You can see that we've opened up very many boxes, and this is what we've been hitting, but once again, to no avail. Now, this character, unlike the Khali, who has been bossing for at least a few weeks less than this character has somehow ended up in a position where instead of the Khali, where it's like on 2 set pitched, it's on 5. Because we have the Genesis badge, and 2 of its items decided to go to 22 as well. So, yeah, the Cannoneer is definitely crazy strong, and it's got a crazy amount of spares too. There is a very good chance that the Cannoneer can be making its way to 7 or even 9 and 10 in the near future, assuming that I get decently lucky. This character also has an unholy amount of Dominator pendants, or if I do hit a source, or if I ever do want to push 23 and beyond, which is also why I'm keeping Daybreaks. So this character, just like my Khali, hasn't gotten drops this week though, so a little sad, but let's quickly go over the equips. Now, the reason why I'm not 22ing any of my CRA, if you're going to ask, is because these characters are already strong enough to progress through at least easy Kalos solo. So, definitely working my way towards Eternals is something that I'm going to be doing, and I'd rather not invest any more into CRA, because there's realistically no point to. And the damage that you get from Eternals is really big if you do get them to decent stars. So, and after the 30-star patch, you can actually guarantee 18. So we probably will be looking into that and maybe even trying 19, truth be told. So yeah, this character, similarly to the Khali, has pretty much everything maxed here. Maybe like a level slip in here and there. I did put more efforts into nodes for the Khali, but once again, like slowly it'll trickle down and this character will look fairly complete as well. In terms of the Hexa Matrix, I think this is actually more invested in, at least damage-wise, in comparison to my Khali. So we have 19 Cannon Barrage, 20 Bullet Bill, 9 Mortar, and everything else is at 1. Because realistically, the only 3 abilities that actually matter on this class are Mortar, Barrage, and Bullet Bill. Hexastat 479, we've been working the same way. Attack goes on the highest stat goes on the second highest stat, and we kind of just have been ignoring crit damage. This character, if we were to throw it in the bossing presets and throw on its damage fams, it goes up to 186 mil. Now, this is a little inflated because of the current events, and by a little inflated, I should actually mean very much inflated because it is giving a lot of stats right now. But I'm going to be honest, event stats are basically permanent right now. Every time an event ends, there's a new event that just replaces it and gives you new stats to just replace the old ones. So, yeah, I'm actually quite happy with this character. I'm kind of just like keeping Cannoneer in my back pocket. You know, I've loved playing this class, but, you know, I haven't really been putting, like, so much effort into this character because, like, the truth be told, like, Cannoneer to this day is still very weak, but, you know, the reason why I level this class again is because it's just very fun. So, yeah, let's go on to the DB and actually finish the first trio that will actually complete my initial Champion Legion. Now, funny enough, this is actually a character that I brought from Chronos, which already has a lot of finished gear, but it doesn't have a lot of 6 job, because when I leveled this character, this was before 6 job even came out, so I was level 281 before this character even saw 6 job, so it's decently high level, but has pretty much no 6 job investment, and that is the issue with this character. But in comparison to the Cannoneer and the Khali, this character actually has a lot of gear investment. So that's one thing I can say about the Dual Blade, is that gear investment wise, it is actually much better than the other characters that you will see. Yeah, in terms of familiars, 40 IED with large drop, 5 attack, 35 boss. Oh, I forgot to also mention that my Cannoneer has damage familiars two 20% boss familiars and then a 20% IED familiar. But two of those boss familiars, or sorry, a boss and the IED familiar have healing on them as well. So I haven't really been rolling fams on that character. Anyways, same thing on this character. We've basically got shafted for all of our drops. I think this character maybe got a black heart, and that's it. That was my loot for the week. So let's do quick gear overview. We do have some legacy stuff. Roar 3, missing Roar 4. This character hasn't been able to get lucky at all when it comes to Oz rings, and this character has a max drop rate. Unlike some of my other characters, the character also has a 1 droid heart, so also has a Sengoku Hakase badge. Yeah, like this character has got the full spiel. When I go into all of my presets, this character hits basically 290 mil. This character is actually pushing 300 mil, but he does the damage of a character that's 200 mil because his 6th job is the big issue here. Karma Blade at 1, all the enhancements at 1, and I've been slowly but surely leveling my masteries through Angular Company. So we have Azure's at 9, and eventually I'm going to get Phantom Blow and the other 2 to 9 as well. But yeah, so in terms of 5th job, everything is maxed except for Fountain. We do have like a few levels slipped here and there, but even the decents are also relatively high level on this character because I was farming a lot on the dual blade. So at least in Chronos, so I got a lot of nodes so that I basically had a lot of spare nodes that I just threw it into this character and tried to max even the little things out. But yeah, dual blade in comparison to the other characters I think is relatively uninteresting. We're kind of just waiting for pitched and that's it. Even going for 23s like is gonna be hard on this character because a lot of the arcanes that I have had, I've thrown them out, and a lot of the spares in general. Like back then, you know, when I played this character, like going beyond 22 wasn't necessarily in the thought process. So once you hit 22, you would kind of just discard an item to make room for other items so that you could slowly max out your whole inventory. So I kind of have to like build this whole character's inventory again, but we'll see how the dual blade ends up. Realistically speaking, this character is already strong enough for hard Saren. Getting it to Kalos will more or less just be a matter of farming it out and getting its 6th job up. So initially this was going to be in my trio when the Champion Legion system came out, but because we could actually transfer characters from Chronos to Hyperion, this character kind of got shoved out to be the 4th place, but it's not to say that we are completely ignoring him or ignoring him at all, because soon enough we know that the 4th slot is going to unlock, and eventually the 5th and 6th, they'll probably do the 5th and 6th together. So for the Marksman, or Man of Mark variety, he doesn't have a badge. That's actually really funny because I had Chains of Resentment and it just ran out. So now the Marksman, in comparison to the Cannoneer and the Khali, or the 2 that he was actually raised with, he was a lot unluckier in comparison, which is kind of the reason why he got casted to 4th. If his gear actually ended up being better in comparison to the other 2, then he probably would have been in the place of the Khali right now. But once again, like this character had more money poured into it than my Khali, but came out weaker, which is crazy. Now this character got a lot of gaps in its gear, and it's definitely a little bit weaker, but it is still very strong. It is able to clear C10. It's with the current event buffs, it is probably able to squeeze in a hard Saren solo. Now granted, I do need good uptime and I need to play well, but it is very much possible. So I'm going to quickly go over the gear. So you'll notice that on this character there's a lot less 22s. And that's straight up just because when I've been Star Forcing on this character, I've been getting unlucky, so there's just been no room for me to greed on anything. And I had to move on to the next characters when I Star Forced on this character. So Now, the one thing that this character does have is a 22 glove, which means that the arcane situation is looking a little better on this character, which is why we have a bunch of boots and capes. We also have a shoulder too, so I wouldn't be surprised if this character, soon enough, has a whole bunch of 22s, you know, to its name. With full damage presets, this character is looking at, I think it's 153 mil. So still looking pretty solid, well into the 9 digits. But yeah, this character, just like the other characters, hasn't gotten any drops this week, which is really fun. In terms of 5th job, it's gonna look relatively the same. There's nothing to see here. In terms of 6th job, the story continues. Because this character lagged behind in events, it kind of lagged behind in general. So it's got a little bit less investment than the Cannoneer, but it is looking relatively similar. 9 on Piercing Arrow, 18 on Snipe, 4 on the Origin, 4 on Perfect Shot, 9 on Repeating Cartridge, and 15 on Split Shot. So yeah, in terms of familiars, we have 20 Boss, a double Healing Fam because I don't really have anything that fills the slot that does meaningful damage, so I just keep on a Healing Fam to stay alive, and then another 20% Boss. So yeah, that'll be it for the Marksman. Let's shuffle on to the 2 that are on their way up. So it seems that there's just like a common theme when it comes to archers on my account, because this character has also been very, very much unlucky. Now, it has gotten decently lucky with Oz rings, but in the most recent event, we dumped more than 80 bill on this character and maybe saw only a handful of 21s, while booming 6 Dominator pendants fully safeguarded. So this character, no joke, is actually starting to fall behind my 6th character, which is really funny. Now, granted, though, this character is doing CENA, so it is on its way to liberating. I am working towards the Damien mission, so give or take a month and a half, and this character is probably liberated as well. Now, if I can get the Black Mage clear, that would probably help a decent bit. If I do any sort of trades, or maybe jump into like a duo with somebody, because I actually think this character is strong enough to duo. Now, granted, I probably wouldn't be doing a majority of the damage, but yeah. If you want to look at this character's damage gear, once again, we'll quickly hover these. We have the Guild Castle totems, and this is where the quality drops off by quite a bit. You'll notice a lot of 17s. I haven't even gotten a Twilight Mark drop on this character. I've been doing Hard Lucid for at least 3 months on this character as of right now, and still no luck on seeing a Twilight Mark, so that's really awesome. This character is kind of uninteresting. Like, we're not super hard focusing on this character. I was gonna push it to 275, but I think my Adele is gonna take precedent over this character, just because of how much luckier my Adele got. We'll see what happens after the Shining Star Force. That's probably when I make my final verdict, but yeah, for right now, this character is kind of borked. I'm not even gonna lie. So yeah, in terms of full damage presets, that seems about right. 58 mil is what this character goes up to, as this character hasn't gotten a chance to farm fams yet. So there's no fam shenanigans going on over here. So let's shuffle on over to the Adele. Actually, wait, before I do that, the Hexamatrix. Everything is at 1, and we do have a Hexastat leveled. And that's pretty much it. And then we have 25 on the skills, 25 on the boosts, and 25 on a few other important things. So that's what these 2 last characters are going to look like. And I don't mean that as a joke. These characters pretty much just have the essentials. I'm trying to get them to at least a C10 level so that I'm at a point in time where I can basically generate unlimited mesos. This character is a few levels behind, but you will see it start to catch up. I am in the process of making this character similar to my Bowmaster, where I have everything unlocked, and then I level up my Hexastat. I am missing 2 5th jobs, but I will continue to put daily frags into this character, so soon enough this character will probably be stronger than the Bowmaster. Now, this is the only character that is actually missing arcane pieces. So I only have 2 set arcane on this character, but even considering that, this character still goes up to 46 mil. So with the 5 set arcane, this character will easily bypass my Bowmaster, and it won't even be close. The weapon alone will give 5 to 10, and then the other 2 pieces will pretty much give a mil or 2 by themselves, because I personally like leaving my Absols at 10. So yeah, let's quickly go over the gear. Now, it's kind of the same spot as the Bowmaster, but this character has a handful more 21s and 20s, because things actually decided to stick here, which is really nice. We also have 22 earrings, so actually making progress in the Golok set too, which is really nice. This character also doesn't have a heart, so when we get that through an event soon enough, that's going to be pretty much a free 1 mil in terms of combat power, even 2, now that my stat is starting to take off. And yeah, you guys have seen the 6th job already, so let's look at the 5th. 25 in everything, 25 in something that's relatively important, 25 boosts, and we're getting close to 25ing everything here as well. So yeah, that will pretty much be it. For the people who have been watching as of recently, I haven't gotten to my Adele bosses yet, so it will kind of be like a double whammy for next week. I'll let you guys know if I do get any loot on this character. I do, of course, I'm recording every time I do a boss. Every single instance, every time I go to a loot room, I am recording it, so don't worry. Now, granted, my Adele isn't super comfortable when it comes to CENA yet, so I'm just doing Chaos Gloom and Hard Lucid, and then kinda just doing Hard Lotus and everything below. But starting next week, I think I'm gonna start doing trades again for this character, because I do want it to get the full CENA loot, at least until it gets 5 set arcane. But yeah, for now, that's kind of how we're looking on the Adele. So, in terms of the event rewards, I just wanted to quickly cover this before I actually go. Let's start with the victory badges. So here, I pretty much just cleaned out the droplets. When the Shining Star Force was around, our Khali boomed the shoulder, so we had to buy the droplets out because I didn't want to spend 5 bill. I wanted to make the most of that Shining Star Force, and we pretty much cleaned all the flames out except for the red ones. I don't really have a use for red flames, being completely honest. I want to be hitting the highest tier as I can. Now, I did kind of ignore some of the symbols, and reason being for this is because I'm actually not like super pressed in terms of what my sacred actually looks like, because of all the dailies that I've actually been doing. So because that work has been put in, I can kind of relax for now. But now that I am going a little bit easy on the dailies, there is a world where maybe I can actually decide to focus more on getting symbols rather than flames, since my flame situation is starting to look a lot better now. In terms of memento coin, we spent the 12k on the fairy heart because this is a very important pickup, considering that all my characters don't have it yet. We got... Oh, I thought I got all the trait boost potions. I did not get all the trait boost potions. I guess we'll save that for next event. I do still have some traits to work on. I definitely want to be maxing empathy on all my characters, because getting the 10% buff duration is actually very significant. It is another second of Angelic Buster Link, which is 60% damage. And when you're bursting, this is actually very important. So when these do come around again, I'll probably pick up whatever I can. In terms of nodes, this is pretty much where all of our coins actually went towards. We cleaned out all of the XP nodes and chunked down a good bit of the normal node stones as well. We did get the Hyperburninator. All of the advanced EXP vouchers are things that I picked up and went towards the Bowmaster, but now that it's 265, I'm probably going to be shifting gears and putting the XP here. All of these symbol selector coupons initially were going to Arcane Force, but I finished all of my Arcane Force dailies halfway through the event, so when I got to the doubled coupons, I've actually been throwing them on the Khali and leveling up her Shangri-La symbol. So the Khali is now up to, I think, 370 or 380 Sacred Force, which is actually very impressive. There are some instances where I did pick up the coins instead of going for the event items. So the Soul Urda I skipped and went for the coins. For the Barumiroid, I went for the coins instead. Realistically, I should have picked up Barumiroid because, you know, Barumi is the GOAT. What can I even say? Same thing here. We kind of skipped on the Solar Dub, but then I changed my mind over here. I picked up a Solar Dub because my Adele is kind of in a tough situation where it just doesn't have any, and I don't want to be transferring Solar Dub and losing a lot of my Solar Dub. So, yeah, there's that. Luxana coupons, pretty much picked all of those up. Because it is just free XP and a lot of XP for characters that are sitting in that 260 range. Tomato King is going to go on the Khali. And besides that, there's not really much to say. If you guys want to see my event stats as well, I pretty much maxed out attack and boss. Left IED at 5, put some points into all stat, put some points into arcane, put some points into crit rate. Halfway through the event, I realized that Sacred Power is one of the stats, so then I started leveling that. I can level it again while we're at it. In terms of the Phantom, I started by leveling the Grandest Daily Quest, and then I went to the Monster Park Clear XP, and then this is when I finished my Arcane River Daily Quest, so I kind of just ignored this. And then we maxed out the Solar different bosses because this is actually quite useful, considering that I do need a lot of Solar now, now that it is actually useful. And we also put a few points into the Legion weekly mission coins because of how easy it is, or how easy it was to level it up. So yeah, that's what our event stats look like. Of course we have some points left over, but I wasn't really looking at it every single day, because halfway through the event my time was actually starting to dwindle as I got a job halfway through this patch. So you can see where it really started to fall off. But yeah, that's pretty much what we're gonna be looking like going into the next patch, and that'll pretty much be it. There was a lot to cover in this episode, even though not much has really happened. I just quickly wanted to go over all of the characters' gear because I haven't really done like a full overview in terms of what has actually changed, or you know, what the characters actually look like. And I think it's actually super interesting that when I first started this series, only one of my characters was over 50 mil, and that was the Cannoneer. And now we're at a point where all of my characters are all over 50 mil. So it's pretty interesting to think about. We've actually come quite a long way in 29 weeks since the start of the series. In terms of how long I've been playing for, we're actually almost at a year. I started midway through November. So yeah, definitely looking forward to all of the new stuff coming in the next patch. I'm super hyped personally for the UI changes and Champion Legion, of course. So yeah, hopefully you guys are excited for the new chapter of this this series and the new patch as much as I am. I will be making videos for the checkpoint clears that I get on each character. So for example, if my dual blade clears all the way up to H Saren, I will show the Lotus, the Vihila, the Black Mage, and the Saren clears, and all of them will get posted to my YouTube channels if you want to see what the clears actually look like at my specific combat powers. So stay tuned for that. But for real this time, that'll actually be it. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. Remember to like, comment, and sub, or I will literally boom your items faster than Starforcing does.